Today's episode is going to be a long one. I have one finished object, one work in progress, and 3 new customs because apparently I can't control myself. So get comfy and let's dive in. Hi there and welcome to episode 10 of the podcast. My name's Luisa, but everyone calls me Lu. And here on the channel I post regular podcast episodes every 2 weeks, talking about all my works in progress and my plans and ideas for the near future. Today's episode was supposed to go live last week, but something happened and I fell down the stairs earlier last week and I got an ankle sprain as a reminder of being more careful when I'm walking down the stairs. So anyway, I couldn't record the podcast last week, so here we are. There's been a lot of new people around the channel this past couple of weeks, so I thought it would be nice to reintroduce myself. So hi, my name's Luisa, but everyone calls me Lu, and I first started knitting in 2020. In 2020, it was February, if I'm not mistaken, of 2020, and what else? I wish I had a nice story of how I got into knitting, like my grandma taught me how to knit when I was 5 and all of that, but I don't. I was just bored one day at home and I went on YouTube and watched a lot of video tutorials and I taught myself how to knit. Well, the videos taught me, but anyway. So I don't have a lot of knitting friends or crafty friends, well, at all actually. Just my mom likes to crochet, but she's not really into the fiber community to the point that she wants to spend 2 hours talking about a project. So I created this YouTube channel hoping to connect with people from the fiber community and talk about my projects and all of that fun stuff. So anyway, like I said, I had a little bit of free time last week and I decided to take advantage of that and I basically knitted non-stop. So I have 3 new cast-ons from my summer knitting plans video, but let's start with my finished object, and I don't know why I'm still holding my water bottle. So let's start with my finished object, and that is my Skyline Tee. So last episode I was a little bit, well, I lost all my motivation when I was working on my Skyline Tee, and now I realize that you can't really see the whole thing. So let me change the angle. So this is the Skyline Tee by Tori Yu. I knitted mine using Rowan Cotton Revive in the colorway 005 Moss. Is it focusing? I hope it is. So I love this yarn. It is a chain construction. I think it's how you describe this. Really lovely. It is 80% cotton and 20% recycled fibers. And I really love the yarn. It has a, I think my tee is going to be really breathable, but it's at the same time a little heavy, I would say. I used exactly 4 skeins, but we'll talk about the yarn amounts later on. But anyway, my Skyline Tee, my progress keeper here shows where I was last time we talked about this project. And by the way, I am wearing sweatpants, feel alright, because I just want to be comfy today. So this is it. I think I will try it on so we can talk about it properly. But now I realize that I forgot to share what I'm wearing today. So this is the Uptown Tee, also by Tori Yu, that I knitted last year, 2023. Now I can remember. But I used footprints in the colorway 3. And the knitting experience was a pain. It was terrible. I had a lot of color pulling with this yarn, so I had to break my yarn, jump to another section of the yarn to rejoin it and start knitting again. So anyway, the experience of working on this tee was a pain, but I really love my finished object. So anyway, let me pop this on and then we can talk about it properly. Here it is. So let me show you the back. and this is a saddle shoulder construction, but I modified mine to have twisted stitches on the saddles and ribbing on the sleeves, body hem, and also the collar. Now, I love the idea of the twisted stitches, and last time I talked about this project, like I said, I had no motivation to keep working on it. I just had a little bit of the body left to work on, but I wasn't really into the fit. Something felt off, but since then I found out what the problem was. Actually, my father did. So I was trying this on the other day, and my father tucked on my sleeve like he was just messing with me, and the miracle happened. So I think I was trying this on the wrong way, because when I tug on my sleeves just a little bit, so the fit is way better, because I was complaining about how I had too much fabric here, and I still think I do, but it looks better, right? Let me do it like I was trying it on last episode, so you can really see the difference. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking last time I tried this on, but anyway, now I'm not really 100% sold on the fit because of this extra fabric here, but I really don't want to frog this or rip back all the way to the saddles to cast on not as many stitches as I have now. So I like the fit. I'm not really loving it, but I think I like it enough to wear. I don't think this extra fabric here is really that big of a thing to bother me, and I shortened the sleeves. I think 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters, and I also added a little bit of length to the body before I started my twisted 1x1 rib. And yeah, I really like it. I think I'm going to wear it. I'm not really sold on this detail here also, with this knit stitch here on the edges where you do the increases when you're working the two fronts. But yeah, I'm just being nitpicky, right? So anyway, this is the color, and I really like it actually. I also was complaining about the join here, so the seam line here where I picked up stitches to knit my sleeves. It was the body section was trying to curl like this, and it was really bugging me, but I blocked this again after I finished the body. I blocked the heck out of this thing and I think it worked. I mean, it's not bothering me anymore, and I really like it. The only thing I really didn't like about this project was, it's not that I didn't like it, but it's not as easy as it is when you're working with wool, and that is weaving in my ends. I just don't like weaving in ends when I am working with cotton yarn, and especially this yarn that is really thick because of this chain construction. I felt like it was too hard to weave in my ends in a way that you couldn't really see the place from the right side, but with blocking I think it's good enough. So anyway, let's talk about the yarn amount and the cost for this project. Let me get my notes. So in terms of yarn, the pattern calls for 986 meters. I've used 973 meters, which is perfect. I still have one bow left untouched from this yarn. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but that's a problem for future me. I've used exactly 4 bows. I just have a little bit left over that it's right there. Let me get it. So I just have this much left over from my 4th bow. So I've used exactly 4 bows, and well, I've shortened the sleeves a little bit, but I added length to the body. So yeah, that's the amount of yarn I've used. And in terms of cost, I paid 25 euros and 35. Now I realize that I forgot to change the angle. So sorry about that. I've paid 25 euros and 35 cents for the yarn, and I paid 8 euros and 10 cents for the pattern. So in total, this project cost me 35 euros and 45 cents. And I think that's good, right? For a tee that I think I'm going to wear a lot this summer. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm not really in love with my finished object. I don't think it's my favorite finished object of 2025 so far, but I like it. We'll see if I end up wearing it or not during this summer. But anyway, enough with the Skyline Tee. Let's talk about, well, before we talk about my work in progress, I just have a little update on my traveler hoodie. So I don't know if you remember, but a couple of months ago, I think the first podcast episode, I already talked about this project, and that is my traveler hoodie by Andrea Mowry. So I finished this a couple of months ago, but I mentioned that I wanted to find, I don't know if there's a proper name to it or not, but ever since I finished this, I've been wanting to find these little metal ends to my drawstrings on the hoodie, and I found it last week. So I just attached it to the end of my drawstrings. I have no idea the material. I have no idea if it's plastic or metal. So it has a bronze finishing to it that I really like. Can you see? I hope you can. And I have no idea if this is plastic or not. When I, like by the noise, yeah, I can figure it out. I am slightly concerned about how I'm going to wash this when I eventually need to wash my hoodie, because of this end piece to my drawstrings. If this is metal, will it rust if I wash it? Do I need to take it out before I put it on the water? No idea, but that's also a problem for future me. For now, I just have a really cute traveler hoodie with this little extra detail that I really think it elevates the look of the hoodie and gives it a store-bought look that I really like. I have no idea how to hold this properly because it is enormous, but anyway, this is my traveler hoodie. I just wanted to share that with you. Now let's talk about the work in progress of today's video, and that is my Clematis sweater. So this is a pattern by Emma Maier. I've been wanting to cast this on for ages now, and I finally did it a few weeks ago. So since we last talked about this project, I worked on the body a little bit. Where is my progress keeper? Oh, it's right here. So I worked on the body and knitted my two sleeves, both sleeves. So the yarn I'm using for this project is Malabrigo sock in the colorway 343 Legend. So I love this yarn. It's really, really soft. Let me show you the colorway name in case you wanna check it out. So I really love this yarn. It's my first time working with hand-dyed yarn. And the only thing I didn't like about this yarn when it arrived was this yarn had a really bad smell. It smelled so bad when it first arrived. So I just left it hanging on my backboard here for a few weeks to let it breathe and carry the bad smell away. And I really think it worked, because now I can smell, well, anything when I no smell at all. Anyway, so my Skyline Tee, my Clematis sweater. So this pattern is written for one strand of DK with one strand of mohair. I am almost 100% sure it's DK with mohair, and I am using a sock yarn. So this is fingering weight 100% superwash merino. So I am basically regrading the whole pattern. So I don't want to talk about all the modifications I am making to the pattern in terms of gauge, because this is a paid for pattern and I don't want to give out too much detail because that would be unfair to the designer. But anyway, I am knitting with 2 strands. I mean, it's 1 strand, but I am alternating skeins to avoid any kind of color pooling, and I think it's working out great. I really love the fabric. Let me show you up close the colors and everything. It is a lovely yarn. I am really happy with the yarn I chose for this project. I really think it suits this project, and as you can see, I made a lot of decreases on the sleeves, and yeah, it's a lot of knitting, okay, working a long sleeve, well, sweater in a fingering weight yarn, but I am really enjoying the process. Now I think I will try this on, because now that I realize that I haven't tried on last episode. So let me change real quick and we can see the fit. Here it is. It's looking ridiculous on top of my Uptown Tee. But anyway, it's just to get an idea. So let me change the angle. This is the Skyline Tee so far. I still have a little bit of body to work on before I start the ribbing, but the sleeves are completely finished. I've already blocked this before I recorded the podcast, so I have my body stitches here hanging on some try-on tubing. But yeah, I really like the length of the sleeves. It's definitely comfortable. This yarn is really soft, and I had no color bleeding or anything. I had no problems when I blocked this. It didn't grow a lot, just a couple of centimeters, so nothing out of the ordinary, and I don't have a lot of positive ease. Right now it looks a bit weird because I have my Uptown Tee underneath, but I just have 5 centimeters or so of positive ease, which is exactly what the pattern suggests. And I really like the amount of positive ease I have. Oh my god, I'm so thirsty, sorry. So I really like the amount of positive ease I have. I am picturing this as a long sleeve tee, as long sleeve shirt instead of a sweater, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I really like not having as much positive ease as I like when I am working on sweaters. I still have the button band here. I still have the button band here left to work on, obviously, and the collar, which is basically everything I have to do to finish this. Work on a little bit of the body, do the body hem, and the button band here and the collar. Right now the collar opening, the neck opening, is wide. I mean, so wide. It's a little bit weird, but I don't know. I think it's fine for a long sleeve shirt. I think it would be too open for a sweater, but for a long sleeve shirt, I think it's going to be fine. I am going to knit 2.5 centimeters or 3 centimeters of ribbing, so it's definitely going to close a little bit, but it's still going to be pretty wide, I think. But I really like it, yeah. And the button band, I already have the buttons, so yeah, I really like this project so far. This yarn goes a long way, so let me show you my 2 skeins here. So I bought 5 skeins originally, and I've used my first 2 skeins. Like I said, I am alternating skeins, so I've used my first 2 skeins to knit the entire body, so front and back, and a little bit of the first sleeve. I think I've only changed to my 3rd and 4th balls around here or so on my first sleeve. So this yarn goes a long way, and now I realize why I end seeing things properly. I forgot my glasses. So anyway, oh, that's way better. So yeah, this yarn goes a long way, and you do some short rows here to create a sleeve cap before you start working in the round. And let me tell you, short rows here on the sleeves, alternating skeins, I didn't like the process. I dislike the process so much. It's not even funny. But anyway, it's pretty quick. It's just a little bit of fabric here, so nothing to really suck all my motivation. So yeah, this is my clematis sweater. I think I'm forgetting something, but I don't know. Oh yeah, so you can see I knitted, this is my second sleeve, so this is the first, and I think you can see the sleeve fabric is a little bit darker than the body, but I don't think it really draws much attention to this, so I'm thinking it's just fine. You can really see here on the body, here is a little bit darker also compared to the rest of the body, but I think it's fine. I actually think it's a really nice, well, thing to have, like an extra detail without having to do anything to get this. So anyway, this is my Skyline Tee so far, and like I mentioned before, this is my clematis sweater, sorry. So like I mentioned before, I had my clematis sweater and one other tea project that I wanted to cast on before I started working on my summer projects, but I changed my plans because there was going to be no time to work on an entire tee and then start working on my summer projects, so I would cast on my first summer tee by the end of July. So yeah, that was a no-go. So my idea was to work on a Stromboli tee by Caitlin Hunter using knitting for olive cotton merino in the colorway Dusty Blue Whale. I've never used this yarn and I really love the color. This shade of blue is really nice, and I am still very much excited to work on this project, but well, I have no timeline for when I'm going to cast this on now. I want to work on my summer projects first, and if I have a little bit of extra time by the end of summer, then I'm going to cast this on. But for now, this yarn is going into my stash. So now let me take this off because, well, it's too hot. And let's talk about the first cast on of my summer knitting plans. And the first project that I wanted to cast on was a tee, because I don't have that many tees to wear during summer. So I decided to cast on the Lyra Tee by Irene Lin. And like I said, I had a lot of extra time to work on my projects. So I have the entire upper body done. I joined in the round and knitted, 10 centimeters or something like that on the body. So the yarn I used for this project is Sandnes Garn Tynn Lina in the colorway 4372. Let me show you the yarn. It's a lovely burgundy color. I think the colorway name is Deep Burgundy, but here the ball band only has the colorway number, so it's 4372. But I'm almost certain the name is Deep Burgundy, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, this is a lovely burgundy shade, like a dark shade of red wine, but it has a purple undertone to it. I don't know if the camera is picking up on that or not, but it's really lovely. So this project is worked on, well, let me put it on Margot so I think you can see better. So let me try this. Oh yeah, it's definitely better. So Here it is. So you first start by casting on stitches to work on the neckband here, the collar. The collar is a folded over stockinette stitch fabric. And then you continue working on the body, do some short row shaping here for the back, and then start working in the round. Increase for the body first only for the body, and then for the body and sleeves to create this twisted stitch fabric here for the sleeves. And this is I don't think the name is balloon sleeves, but the sleeves have a lot of fabric. They are quite roomy with a little cable detail at the end, and also the same detail goes on the body. And I'm really loving this project so far. The only thing that I'm not quite enjoying is this is a lot of knitting, alright, like a lot. I have over 600 stitches right before I separated for the body and sleeves. And by over 600 stitches, I actually mean I had almost 700 stitches. So the only time I had more stitches on my needles than now it was when I was working on my excavation blanket on the bed. So yeah, that was the only time I had more stitches than I have now. But anyway, I was getting really tired of working on this project. When I was almost done with the increases, because you do some increases, well, first you only increase for the body, then you only increase for the sleeves, and then you do some raglan shaping here, increasing for both body and sleeves. So this last section here was quite tedious. Well, I just had too many stitches and it was going really slow. But anyway, I got past that section, and I had a little bit of issue with getting gauge because of this yarn. I think this yarn is not as thick maybe as the called for yarn, the suggested yarn. So I had a little bit of issue getting gauge, but I think it's working out great. I am knitting size 7, I think it's 7 or 8. Now I think I'm knitting size 8 to end up with a size 6 because of my difference in gauge. But anyway, this is what I have so far. I still have a lot of work to do on the body before I have to start the section for the twisted stitches section. And this pattern also has a cropped length, so I think I certainly will add a little bit of fabric to the body. I'm not into that cropped style, so yeah. And now when it comes to the color, the pattern advises you to be careful when you're working on the color, because some testers had an issue with the color flaring out, and you can see some project photos over on Ravelry. Some people did have that problem. You can actually see pretty easily if you go check people's projects. So the color was flaring out quite a bit, and the designer advises you to keep an eye on that and swap the stockinette stitch fabric for a 1x1 twisted rib like the sleeves, in case you want to avoid having this flaring out issue. But I really like the look of the stockinette stitch here, so I decided to. I saw some a project page, someone, I don't remember her name now, but she gave a little suggestion of how she worked her color, and I really liked that idea, so I decided to copy her instructions. So what I did is I am working on a 3.5mm needle for the body and sleeves. So I cast on my stitches using a 3mm, worked 4 rows on a 3mm, then 9 rows on a 2.5, and then change back to a 3mm to work 4 more rows. and then I folded my collar and switched to my 3.5, and I think it worked. My collar opening here is not as roomy, it's not as open as the designer photos, as the designer sample, but I really like this, and this fabric is still unblocked. And from my swatch, I saw that this yarn really blooms with blocking. So right now, let me see if I can show you this. Right now, the fabric, the gauge looks quite open. It's almost too open of a gauge. You can see me through the fabric, but with blocking, this yarn really blooms, or at least it's what I experienced with my swatch when I blocked my swatch. And the yarn really fills up the gaps between stitches, so I'm trying not to put too much thought behind this, the look of the fabric. So right now it looks a little bit wonky because, like I said, it's unblocked, but I think with blocking it's going to look really nice, and I really like it. So yeah, I think now that I finished my third bow here on the body, I want to stop and knit both sleeves and then work on the body again, because it's a lot of twisted stitches and I think I need a break between two sections of knitted stitches. So yeah, I think I'm going to work on the body and then work on the sleeves and then return to the body to knit a little bit of stockinette to relax and then start working on the twisted stitches for the body. But yeah, that's my Lyra Tee so far. I'm just looking at my notes to see if I mentioned everything that I want to share with you. And yeah, I think that's all. So now let's talk about what? My second cast on from my summer knitting plans, and that is a project that I'm really excited about. And that is, let me get it, my Pierre Sweater by Johanna Gehrisch. So the yarn I'm using for this project is, well, the suggested yarn is Knitting for Olive Merino with Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. And my plan was to use the suggested yarn, but my mom gifted me this cone, but the yarn is right here. So she gifted me from her D-stash, and this is a Holst Garn Supersoft in the colorway Sage Blue. And it was almost the same color I was going to go for my Pierre Sweater anyway from Knitting for Olive. So I just decided to work with this cone instead from her D-stash. And I really like this yarn. You can see it's green, but you can see some blue sections and a little bit of white also. I really like. And I paired this with Knitting for Olive mohair in the colorway Dusty Sea Green. I really like this shade also. I don't know if the camera is coming, if this color is coming across as a dark green. I tried taking pictures of this yarn and the camera only wants to show it as a dark gray, but it's not, it's green. So let me see if I can show you the color combo. It's quite nice. I'm really liking the pair of these two yarns, and this is what I have so far. So I finished the upper body, the yoke. This is a drop shoulder construction. So you first cast on stitches for the back, knit basically in a rectangle, nothing different from that, I think. Yeah, it's just a rectangle, and then you pick up stitches to work on both fronts and joining the round. So this is what I have so far. Let me show you the fabric. So right now it's unblocked, so it's quite scrunched up. But I knitted my swatch and blocked my swatch with this beautiful lace pattern here that is quite lovely. And I really like the process of creating this fabric. But anyway, I knitted my swatch, blocked, measured my gauge, decided on the size and everything. I met gauge, by the way, which is a miracle, but anyway. And then I cast it on, worked the entire back panel, felt really insecure that it's going to, well, the pattern mentions the fabric grows a lot, but she says she writes a lot in capital letters, like over and over and over again throughout the patterns. So so I was really worried it was going to grow a lot, because when I knitted my swatch, it didn't really grow that much. So I was confused with the amount of growth that I was supposed to get versus the amount of growth I did get. So anyway, I knitted the entire back panel, felt a little bit insecure because it already looked like a good size, to have a good size, but then if it was going to grow with blocking even more, then it was going to be too big. So yeah, I knitted my swatch, blocked it, knitted the back panel, felt insecure, blocked the back panel again. So this is what I have. So you can see the back panel is blocked here, and then when I joined it around, it's unblocked. So I hope you can really see the difference. If maybe you can see a color difference also, it's because I had a bit of a color bleeding when I blocked the back panel. So I think it lost a bit of the dye. I just hope when I block the entire piece that the colors even out throughout the sweater. So yeah, that's what I have so far. And oh, now you can really see the difference between blocked and unblocked. So anyway, I am knitting exactly to pattern. I didn't make any modifications to it, at least so far, but I definitely have a tight armhole here, so you can really see I have a small armhole, but according to my swatch and according to the pattern, this is going to grow a lot with blocking, so I think it will be fine. I just need a few centimeters, like 3 centimeters or so, to have a nice fitting armhole. So yeah, we'll have to see, but this is what I have so far. Now when it comes to the pattern itself, like the PDF, when I first opened the PDF, I felt, well, intimidated to be honest. When you first open it, you see a lot of charts with really small like squares representing each stitch. So the chart looked really intimidating, with a lot of red sections like, be careful of that, be mindful of growth, it's going to grow a lot, and this and that. So yeah, when I first opened the PDF, I was like, what did I get myself into? But when you take a deep breath and start reading the entire pattern, it's really nice. The only thing I have to say about this is my first time knitting anything by this designer, Johanna Gehrisch, and this pattern is, according to the pattern page on Ravelry, the difficulty level is advanced, and in my opinion, okay, this is my humble opinion here, I don't think this is a advanced pattern because of the sweater itself, because of what you actually have to do with your needles. At least so far, the only thing I had to do was, well, yarn overs and knit 4 togethers, knit through the back loop, and knit stitches and purl stitches. And well, I wouldn't say that's difficult, for like to the point that you rank this as a difficult pattern. But I think the difficulty level comes from the PDF itself, like the way the PDF is written, because when you look at the charts, for example, the charts only show the odd numbered rows. So if you're working flat, the pattern only shows the charts only shows the right side rows, and you have to figure out the wrong side rows, which is basically knit as you see the stitches on your needles, like if it's a knit stitch you knit, if it's a purl stitch you purl, and that is fine. It's easy enough to do. You don't really have to figure things out like on your own that much, but it would be nicer to have an entire chart. That's my opinion. And some things you really have to, well, this pattern would benefit from a few more sentences here and there. That's my opinion. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. It's completely doable, and like I said, I'm doing mine. A lot of people are doing their own, and I really like this pattern. I would purchase it again if I hadn't already. So yeah, if that tells you anything. Anyway, I am really loving the project so far. I don't think my neck opening here is too big or too small. I think it's just the right size. The only thing I am really betting on the blocking process is the armhole depth here, that I want to get a couple more extra centimeters, but that's all. And I want to finish my body and block. Well, I will block this before I finish the body because, like I said, this grows a lot according to the pattern, so I want to block this before I decide on a final length, before I have to work on the twisted rib, like the body hem, that is 1x1 twisted rib. Yeah. Now, one more thing about the pattern is, like I said, she talks about how the fabric grows a lot with blocking, especially if you're not using the suggested yarn, then it might grow even more. And I think it would be nice to have like a measurement, like garment measurements, like a schematic, show you the measurements before and after blocking. I think that would be a nice idea. At least I am missing that information a little bit, because, or just a percentage of growth like Andrea Mowry does with her traveler hoodie pattern. But anyway, we can figure that out on our own, and it's not really a problem. Well, now you can really see the color difference, right? Anyway, I am getting distracted looking at the viewfinder, and this yarn, I don't know, this is my second time working with Holst Garn Supersoft, and I don't get where the Supersoft name comes from, because I don't think this yarn is really that soft. It softens up quite a lot with blocking, but it's not really that soft, to the point that I will call this Supersoft. But anyway, when paired with mohair, it really softens up a lot. I think it's going to be quite nice of a fabric to wear next to skin, and I really love the lace pattern. Did I show you the lace pattern up close? I hope I did. But anyway, this is my Pierre Sweater so far, and the third and last cast on of today's video, because 3 cast-ons for me is quite a lot, is the PetiteKnit by PetiteKnit. So I mentioned how I wanted to, I mentioned that I wanted to work with bouclé yarn to, well, try it and see why people are always talking about bouclé, and I decided to cast on the PetiteKnit. And the yarn I used for this project is, well, is the bouclé from Drops. So this is Drops Alpaca Bouclé Mix in the colorway, which color is it? 2020 light beige. I don't have a new ball to show. I just have my leftovers, because I finished the entire knitting section part of this project. Now I have to attach a lining and a frame to the inside. So you first cast on first cast on stitches for the bottom here, work on a rectangle. It's really hard to show you because of the bouclé texture, but anyway, you work on a rectangle and then pick up stitches on the 3 other sides and start working in the round until you get to the point here where you divide stitches in two and work both flaps. Can I call this flaps? Anyway, you work on a little bit of a flat panel here, and this section is going to encase the frame. Now let me show you the frame, because sorry about the noise, but I purchased PetiteKnit's frame and the lining. My first idea, I really wanted to use a fun fabric for the lining with a cute pattern or a cute color and all of that. But here's the thing. I know next to nothing about sewing. I don't always sewing machine. I know basically nothing when it comes to sewing. So yeah, it was going to be too much work and trouble to figure out a good lining situation. So I just went ahead and purchased the PetiteKnit's lining and frame when I was purchasing the yarn. So anyway, I haven't opened this yet, so let me open this and we can see how this works. So let me do it like that. Okay, this is just a box, a boxy fabric, nothing really, well, different than what you could expect for a lining. And I met gauge when I was working on the fabric section, on the fabric, and I think it's important to meet gauge because of the final measurements of the clutch. And when working with bouclé yarn, I really like the process, and well, it's fun to work with bouclé yarn. The only thing is it takes some getting used to because of the loops the yarn has. So let me see if I can show you one strand here. So the yarn has a bunch of loops here, and they get stuck on your knitting needles when you're trying to get into a stitch to knit it. And it takes some getting used to, so now my yarn fell to the floor. So yeah, it's a nice experience, but it's definitely not what I was used to when working with merino and other fibers. But anyway, I don't know if I want to work on an entire garment with bouclé yarn, but I'm not even thinking about it right now. Right now I just want to have this finished clutch. And I really like the fabric. It's really soft actually, and scrunchy and well, soft. And I think it's going to be a really nice project bag. This is my idea for the teddy clutch. I am knitting the large size. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I really like it. And right now, oh, did I show you the frame? So this is the frame. Yeah. This is the frame. They suggest that we use a little bit of sewing machine oil. Is that the right name? I don't know. You use a little bit of oil here to help with noises in the future. So I still have to do that. And then I have to sew it in place and sew the lining, and that's it basically. So it's a really quick and easy project. I am really liking this. I think this is going to be really nice. I like the beige shade. It's a light beige that it's quite nice for a project bag. My first idea was to use a white color, but I think it's going to get dirty really quick. It would get dirty really quick. So I decided to go for a light beige instead, and I am really happy with it. I just have all my stitch markers still because it's almost impossible to see the stitches and count stitches or rows. So I just left my stitch markers until I am 100% certain that I don't need to reference anything in the future. So yeah, that's my teddy clutch so far. I had to be a little bit careful when I was working in the round because, well, it's really hard to see your stitches. There's really no stitch definition to the fabric, So if you, well, lose a stitch, it's not really that easy to notice and it's almost impossible to frog or to rip back a couple of stitches and all of that. So I just have to be a little careful that I didn't mess it up during the whole knitting process, but I'm really happy with it. And yeah, I am talking too much about a clutch. So anyway, that is my last work in progress or cast on of the video, and I think that's all I have for you today. Now I really need to sit down a bit and put a nice pack, a really big nice pack on my ankle. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me. If you're new here, I would love to have you stick around and subscribe for more cozy knitting updates. And if you'd like to share with me what you've been working on and your thoughts on my projects, and if you have any ideas or suggestions, I would love to know, so comment down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I see you on the next one. Bye!